Hey everyone. So today I'm going to talk about the topic of a new home, and I'm going to try to summarize all what I have to talk about within 10 minutes, starting now. So I have 10 minutes. Okay, so firstly, I'd like to talk about living in a new home. The points I'm going to cover are talking about the cost, talking about space, talking about when and where, and basically talking about living alone, especially for someone like me. So, the thing with living in a new home by yourself and having to deal with the cost is it's expensive anymore, and with places that do credit checks, if you have no one else to depend on and you're living by yourself, not only can it get expensive, but if you don't have good credit, most places won't rent to you, especially if it's a rental. And even if you are looking to buy a home, most places expect you to have a co-signer. So, to me, living alone has just become too costly, and it just seems like all it is a money making scam for people to get rich off of, and push people out on the street so they can laugh and point at them and mock them. It's just a form of mockery. Now, the second point I'm going to talk about is space. When you're living alone, you don't really need a whole lot of space. You don't need like a 6-bedroom apartment with when you're by yourself and you only have say one room worth of one room worth of boxes that you have to unpack. So, I mean, you don't really need all that space, and I don't see, and this sort of ties into cost, so I don't see why people should have to pay for space that they don't use or pay, why should someone, like for myself, why should I have to move into a 2-bedroom apartment when it's just me and I'm only using one bedroom? I mean, that other room is going to waste, and where, I mean, most of the places where I live are 2-bedroom or more, and they want like $700 or more to live in it. And I mean, it's just not cost effective. I have no use for that space, and I never have, and I never will. Now, as far as where you want to live, now this next point is when and where, or where and when, and depending on where you live and when you want to, like, say you're a minor and you want to move out. I myself, most parents, they push their kids out on the street as soon as they hit 18 or whatever, and it's like, I mean, I'm sure not every parent's going to agree with that, but it's like to have that kind of mentality, you know well, first of all, it's wrong, and second of all, that's living in the past. People need to stop living in the past and get caught up to today's standards. It's just, it's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's really stupidity. So, I mean, where you want to live is up to you, and when you want to live, well, you can choose to live in the past, but I'd rather live in the present. And as far as when you want to move out, well, that's really your decision. The way I see it is if you're not financially stable, don't move out until you're ready. I mean, age doesn't really matter, you know? If people says it does, then maybe they're the ones that need to move out. Now, living on your own, for someone like me, this really isn't a problem. And sure, it really goes back to cost and space and where. Where I live is my choice. As far as space, I'm not going to pay for space that I'm not going to use, and I'm not going to pay outrageous amounts for a new place to live when it's just me living alone by myself. I don't see why I should have to rely on other people or rely on a roommate or rely on anyone. And the way some parents' mentality is, the moment you say you're moving out and you're not financially stable and you're not able to find a job or whatever, it's like they bring up costs, they bring up, oh, well, how are you going to pay for it? Where are you going to live? And all this stupid, trivial, minute, and excuse me for saying this, bullshit. This is why I don't worry about this. It's trivial. It's minute. It doesn't matter. You make a big deal out of it, and yet you constantly nag me about it, and I don't care. I don't care. If I really cared, I would be bringing it up, and I don't bring it up. If people would stop ripping you off and, charging $800 for a 2-bedroom apartment and charging for space that you don't use, you should only be charged for the space you use. And I'm sorry if there are any realtors watching this. Job's a scam. That's the way I see it. Obviously, housing authorities don't care. Obviously, Federal Reserves and banks don't care. That's why they foreclose on homes. That's why they evict people out of apartments. That's why they pull all this bullshit. And that's what it is. Bullshit. Everyone needs a place to live, and yet they want money, 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 money for space that you don't use when you use it, and they base it off of where you want to live and how many people are living with you and all this other bullshit that's really trivial and doesn't matter. It's ridiculous. Now, I know it seems like I'm ranting, but really, everything that I've talked about is covered in these points, and I just don't see why I should have to consort with what other people's demands are, especially for, say, I don't see why I should have to pay $700 to $800 for a 1-bedroom apartment when, to me, I'm sorry, but to me, a 1-bedroom apartment at most should cost someone like me, who, when I did have a job back then, and I wasn't really making much, and I was working for the big man, $250 at most. So, I mean, I just don't really see how it's beneficial. So that's all I really have to say about that. And I mean, I really think it's ridiculous. So, thank you again for watching, and feel free to subscribe, feel free to like this video. I know it seems a bit random that I'm bringing it up, but there's a reason. There's a reason for everything. So again, thank you. Stay tuned for the next video.